All right, we're up, my friend. We're up. I gotta do the usual here. What's up, everyone? What's up, everyone? There we go, guys. This is it here.
All right, we're on.
Yes, we are, sir. Hey, what's up, everybody? KP here with my good friend Garth, Pastor Garth Darton from Tabernacle, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How's the heat? How's the Florida sun treating you, man?
Man, I'm like, where does this thing stop, man?
I can ask, is it still good to you?
It's great to me, man. Just to have the every day you get up, it's a bright and sunny day, man. Like every day you get up, bright and sunny day. Today is a bright and sunny day, and a very hot, bright and sunny day. So,
Listen. It was like what 32 degrees yesterday.
my gosh, yeah,
Um,
like
I got some well, some people say Nesberry, but I got some Neesberries. You know, I can't tell when is the last time I've eaten so many
my
Neesberries.
gosh, my gosh. That's the good stuff, man. I was driving
Yeah.
by someone's house and saw a breadfruit tree. Breadfruit, man. I couldn't believe it. I had to stop and shake. I said, "Is that a breadfruit tree? They have a
It's a bread.
breadfruit tree, man. A real breadfruit tree." So it's
we're-
different. It's different down here.
I don't know when is it gonna wear off in terms of on us where we're stop acting like tourists.
Hey, I don't know, man. When I see boxes and boxes of mangoes, then maybe it might wear off. But I'm just looking at them. They're growing right now on those trees, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a box. So
Yeah, I'm watching them. I'm watching them too, man. I want them to
you have mangoes hanging from people's yards, man. Hanging
waiting
like this is
waiting for them to develop. Oh
Jesus.
man. All right. Well, we're gonna get into some things today. Welcome to Between the Pews. You see me on here with a bunch of other pastors. Sometimes depending on what their schedule is and what their schedules are, then you'll see faces on, right? It's always dependent on that. So, but my boy Garth is consistent, right? Shout outs to Prince and Lenny. Shout outs to George and Bryant. The ones who normally come on here. Um, in terms of some of the things we're going to talk about, my boss, pandemic is the first one.
Hmm.
We had an interesting day in terms of news yesterday, right? And before that, we had an interesting development coming out of St. Vincent. You put me onto it, and when I checked it out, all of a sudden people are picking up on it.
Hmm.
So the volcano, is it La Soufrière or La Soufrière? Is that how you say
Yeah.
it?
Well, you have to ask the Vincentians. They will be able
Okay.
to pronounce it with a little accent on the end there, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Okay.
but but at the end of the day, this thing is affecting people's lives, man. And
Hmm.
you have what 18 to 20,000 people that had to evacuate, some losing possibly everything that they have known and have owned, and
Yeah.
then being now some on a cruise ship, some being taken to other Caribbean islands to now see how they can start life over. And it's not a cake, it's not a walk in the park, right? It's not a slice of cake or anything. It's going to
Right.
take some time. It's going to take some years to be able to rebuild. So this thing is really affecting a lot of people's lives.
So is it a situation where folks won't be able to go back at all? Like the volcano messed up the place so that bad?
Well, you're looking at layers and layers of ashes being
Ash. Yeah.
spewed from this volcanic eruption.
Yeah.
Or if lava spills, who knows? It can be like something that happened in Hawaii where it makes a complete path of
Right.
destruction, and
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to rebuild there. I mean, it takes years before that ever gets fertile, everything again. But for the most
Mhm.
part, with the layers and layers of ash that is there, it's not even good, even conducive to even breed that stuff
Breathe
again.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
So, for human life, and, for their lungs' sake, they may not want to go back in that environment for quite some time. So,
Yeah.
it's a very dangerous situation. And it's not only affecting St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but it's also affecting other Caribbean islands, including Barbados, that is covered in ash also. And
The ash reached that far. Okay.
yeah, Grenada, a lot of islands in the Caribbean is now affected because the ash is all the way in the sky. So it's affecting a lot of people's lives. And so our prayers are for those individuals. We continue to pray and continue to support and finding ways that we can offer relief of some way. So just trying to be able to be a support for those who are definitely being affected by this calamity.
Yeah, man. All across the board, not just because we may have friends or family or because we have Adventists there, but love all across the board for and
Indeed.
prayers for everyone.
Indeed.
But in terms of a little piece of information that came out with that whole situation, it didn't sit well with me, and
Mm,
I know that people are having that discussion now. Is that the Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves said that you cannot leave the island, or they're not allowing anybody to leave the island without getting vaccinated. Um, I'm not, you can't get on the ships. They're saying some islands are requiring it. Other, like St. Lucia is one island that's not requiring it, but they just want them to quarantine. What do you think about that in terms of, requiring people in an emergency situation like this? Why not just, let them get on the ships, quarantine them and all that sort of stuff? But why does it seem like they're using this moment as an opportunity to do something that a lot of individuals are not interested in? I think Garth froze here, waiting for my boy to come back. So yeah, we're here dealing with some topics. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with the exploding volcano. You're back.
yes, you lost me there for a second, man. I don't know what someone wrong with my Wi-Fi, but I'm back, and I heard the question. I heard the question. That
Okay.
vaccine, not being able to leave the island unless you receive a
Mhm.
vaccine.
Right.
Now, I don't know what some of the individuals feel out there, but that is just a sign to me that, man, this thing is no longer just a choice. It is a
Hmm.
mandate, and that becomes very critical. Where um, you're left on an island where your health is at risk, meaning that you're breathing in now toxic fumes and all that stuff from a volcano, and you're
Right.
left there basically to shorten your life, or take this vaccine and be able to get out. Like that's just not fair, man, to be putting people in that type of predicament. I think that's
Right.
that's really there's got to be something wrong about that type of thinking and that mandate. And I hope that individuals will be able to hone in on that and give some comments regarding that, because I truly believe that there is a problem with that, where there's a risk of human life. And if the people can get out, it's like offering a lifeboat. And then you're saying, no, you can't get on the lifeboat until I stick this into your body. Well, if they feel very strongly that, no, I don't believe I should take that, then it's like, well, stay here and die then.
Right.
That's just not ethical in my mind. It just doesn't seem very ethical to be able to have individuals endure that type of stringent uh, type of policy or whatever they've put in place. It just doesn't seem right. Especially, what about children? I mean, you're leaving families and children there
Right. Right. Right.
rather than to get them out. I mean, they can have a choice later on to get the vaccine, but at least give them that choice. Don't tell them it's a mandate, or you get left here. That just seems
with
wrong
a
to me.
volcano. You're gonna be left with a volcano and ashes unless you do this. I like you said. I mean, I don't. We don't have to dwell on it long, but I do want to highlight it simply because it doesn't sit well with me. I know there are individuals who will talk about well, they're going to other countries and the other countries are this and that. It doesn't matter. I think there are different ways to approach a situation. It's an emergency situation. Just like we say COVID-19 is an emergency situation, right? And we put things in place, masking, quarantine if you get exposed, socially distance and wash your hands. I think there are different things. But when you pit people's lives or put people's lives in jeopardy just because you're trying to get something done, maybe they paid for it and they want to make sure it's you. I don't know, man.
Man,
Which go
you
ahead, go
know,
ahead.
I thought that we need to also, because some individuals who are religious and Adventist will probably have a comment that they should just get the vaccine then.
Mhm.
But you must consider the prophetic implications. We
Mhm.
can't just, push it aside and act like this is an isolated event, so it's okay. But we must think about the prophetic implications there. That when these rules are in place and it says, hey, either you get this or you don't receive that. What happens when it's our turn?
Right.
And you can't go in the store unless you do this.
Mhm.
And the Bible has a lot to say about that too, about the mark, right? You receive the mark or you don't eat. Those type of things we must consider when we think about the laws that are being placed in very different situations and in different countries. Right now,
Right.
it seems like it's almost poised for something more, and it's only a matter of time. So be very careful of how you're actually embracing certain rules and laws that are in place, and how you're so easily accepting some of these things that are put in place because you're trying to safeguard what you believe is your health, but you're
Right.
giving up a whole lot more in return. So that's just a side of caution from the prophetic word there that we should really take note of.
Yeah, so if you're watching right now, if you have a comment, you can drop a comment as well. We're just talking about the pandemic and what's happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with Lasso Free. I hope I'm pronouncing that thing correctly with the volcano, that erupting volcano, and the fact that you cannot leave the island unless you get a vaccine. You can't get on the cruise ships that have come there. Following up with that, all heck broke loose yesterday with the news that
Mm,
Johnson and Johnson is now in the same category as AstraZeneca, where it's 6 people, women, by the way, Garth, women suffered blood clots because of that vaccine. The U.S. Government paused. They paused it. I was listening to the press conference, and one reporter, shout outs to the reporter, asked, why do we say pause and why not stop? Why not a stoppage? Why are we pausing? As a matter of fact, I think it is still being distributed, right? People have been, raising the alarm about the speed of which this thing is coming, these things are coming out. And I even read one former professor of mine. Well, he wasn't my professor, but from Andrews, who gave like a list. I think 9 things why the fact that the U.S. government came out and highlighted the problem with Johnson and Johnson,
hmm
then that is a knock against the skeptics because the government is looking out for us, type thing. You know, there's very
Wow.
it goes through a stringent process and all that sort of stuff. But people have been saying these things a long time, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they've been brushed off. It's only the voice of the infection specialist
Wow.
and
Wow.
the CDC and the FDA that are their only there's only their voices, and everybody else just once again is be quiet and just take what we give you. Now Johnson and Johnson is on pause. That's
Well,
what we
Johnson and Johnson, this is not the first time they've been in the news. We've talked about
right.
them, I believe, before, but
Hmm.
they're notorious. for sending out and even selling items that they know is carcinogenic in some cases, have taken the lives of many people. And yet again, we have a company that it seems that they really don't care about people. This is about profit.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, a pause or whatever is just
And
so
not a
they can just
stoppage. Yeah.
double
Mm-hmm.
check. But they keep injecting people with that stuff, and who knows how many more lives are going to be lost tragically because of their greed. And really,
And
what we
there's
see.
no compensation. Remember, the government put up a law in place that they cannot be sued.
That's
And
right,
and
because
that's one,
yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why I warn Adventists about embracing these companies, because we believe that they have our best interests at heart. We don't want to embrace that other side to the situation, the fact that they do us harm and we have no recourse, right?
yeah. Well, we've signed a waiver, right? We've signed a
Yeah.
waiver, so you can't sue. No matter what happens in your body, you can't sue. You just have to take it and live with it, and wait on the medical professionals to decide what happens if something goes really bad. So that's the issue with this vaccine right now, and it's really a sad state that we're in. That there is a pause for something that's supposed to be helping and so many people, and yet they have been trusting that the research has been done to ensure that the people would be safe. Individuals who receive the vaccine would be safe, and now we're learning that has not truly been done.
AP News says here what? 6 women between the ages of 18 and 48.
Mm,
These are and what I've noticed as well, even with the Pfizer and the Moderna, right? There are tons of women. The females are being affected more so than the men, right? Um, they've given out close to 7 million doses, according to the report here. Um, they're saying everybody, Dr. Fauci and all that's saying that, they're going to be just fine. We've given out 6 to 7 million doses and we don't have a whole bunch of reports. I don't even think they want to listen to some of the reports. And they're saying it has no connection, no correlation. They had underlying issues, right? That's why I know I get a lot of flack for it. And I will when we embrace these companies as our saviors, we must embrace. You're gonna have to embrace their evils as well,
mm.
right? I know, but I'm not too sure
No,
what they're gonna do.
but
But I think they're still handing it out. They're still handing it out.
yeah,
Canada.
because what's 1 in 100 or 1 in 20 for a company of
Mhm.
that magnitude? If they say it only affects 1 in 20 people or 1 in 10 people, that's still okay. It's only 10% or 1% or whatever, or 2%. It's not a big number, so they figure it's not it's just a small price to pay for
Right.
something that is helping. But
Sacrifice a few for the men. Yeah.
it changes when it becomes you or becomes your
Hmm.
family member. You
Yeah.
don't want your family member to be sacrificed. They don't want their family members to be sacrificed. But 1 or 2 individuals in the whole community that dies because they took the vaccine and something went bad for them. Well, okay, it's just part of the price that we have to pay. They can't really sue anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But any loss of life is something that is tragic.
Right.
So I cannot think like how these companies would think, because they're thinking more so from a standpoint of statistics and profit.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking at the cost of tragedy when someone who you love has died because they've taken a vaccine, thinking that it would help them, and then it just kind of allowed for their body to implode on itself, and they died because of it. So that's, to me, is very tragic that this is happening right now.
Yeah. And like I said, yeah, not even to say, okay, we'll help you out, we'll compensate you. Your family you're gonna be facing some hard times. So we're gonna help you. What you're gonna find is mounting medical bills that these individuals have to take care of. I don't know. I don't think the government is gonna be taking care of them or their medical bills. Right.
And these are young people,
Right.
18 to
18 to
48.
40. But we
That's
said,
they're young.
but we talked about the incremental nature of this, where before we got to the vaccine stage, and we had the lockdowns, the masking, the social distance, the washing of hands. Now, in terms of the vaccine, it's not just the 1 or 2 doses. They say that you're going to be getting regular shots, right? Regular shots. You're gonna have to as a matter of fact, they're even talking about mixing vaccines right now
Mm.
in order for they're talking about mixing them.
They're going to have a cocktail
Right.
given to individuals. Now, there is a history of those cocktail type of vaccines.
Hmm.
There's been such a history of that stuff with even children talking about, is it contributing to certain health factors, health risk for children when you're taking certain vaccines. Now we're talking about this cocktail that is going to be possibly created for as an antidote of some kind to this coronavirus. And I don't know, man. We're not even over the first and second dose. Now we're thinking about cocktails and creating those type of stuff to be injected into
Yeah.
people. I don't even think we're even there yet.
It's right now. It's in the news. It's in the news. If you just type, and I'm just trying to get the name of it in terms of when they mix it. So what? Oh, I'll cite one story before we move on. France is telling HAS, that's their health body.
Hmm.
It told their folks that if you got the AstraZeneca vaccine, they're saying, and the first shot, they're telling you to take Pfizer or Moderna. So
Hmm.
mixing with that's the recommendation. So if you took AstraZeneca, the suggestion is that you take one of the mRNA vaccines now. So this whole mixing of things,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, France is suggesting, and it is a discussion in out there right now as we're dealing with COVID-19. It says
Man.
Oxford scientists expanding efforts to test whether 2 different COVID-19 vaccines can be combined after European Union countries worried by rare side effects with AstraZeneca jab start offering the vaccine as a second shot.
What are those side effects, man? I'm curious now to find out.
Well,
Do we ever get?
blood clot is one, that's for sure, with AstraZeneca.
You ever seen those commercials online or on TV that
Hmm.
tells you all of the side effects and it kind of just blankets it with the people smiling and jumping and stuff? I feel like
Yeah,
we're living that right now. That
right.
here you would have a blood clot and possibly death, and yet take the vaccine. Like go out there and take not this one, take that one. And while I'm a proponent and say, hey, do what is best for you and your family. If you need to go take this vaccine and you're being exposed to individuals on a regular basis, then do so by all means. But be very mindful of what you're doing and think it through. Put it down on paper. Find out what these side effects are before just going out there and jumping and injecting yourself with something or having someone inject you with something that you don't really know much about. So it's just about education, making sure that you know what's going in your
Right.
body.
So the UK government said every effort should be made that the people get 2 of the same vaccine, but has allowed for special circumstances in which vaccines may be mixed, such as a shortage of the required shot at a particular site, or if it is not known which vaccine the person initially received. So it's
Mm,
out there, it's happening. I'm just putting it out there, man. Um, it's not popular, it's not comfortable for people to talk about, and it's not easy for individuals to see people like me and you as preachers talking about these things. But I think it's out there, it's happening in our world, and it's affecting our church and our people. Then we have to talk about it. All right, moving on to another topic. I'm sure more information will continue to come out where we have problems and people are just gonna ignore and say, whatever. COVID is killing everybody, so whatever. Go and get your shot. Um, the next topic, my boss, is having to do with on the what is happening in our policing right now.
oh man.
Well,
Oh
actually,
man.
no. I wanted to raise an issue before we hit that. But you know what? It's okay. We'll go on to the police situation. So that lieutenant Karen Nazario. He is part black, part Latino, I believe. Karen Nazario,
Hmm.
coming from work, serving his country in his SUV. Kudos to him when the police officers pulled him over for going into a well lit area. You see the kind of extremes we have to go through as black folks in order to stay safe, right? They pepper sprayed the gentleman, handcuffed him, had him on the ground, threatened the electric chair, right? Since all of this happened, of course, the main police officer, Gutierrez, I think it's Gutierrez or whatever his name is,
Hmm.
he was let go. And so we have the fallout from that. And then we have Daunte Wright, who was shot by Officer Potter, right? A 26-year veteran.
Veteran. Mm.
He was president of the police union,
Wow.
and she accidentally pulled her gun instead of the taser. And when that information came out that it wasn't, and she's resigned, and the chief has resigned.
Yeah.
That's in Minnesota there. So since that information came out about the whole accidental gun, taser for gun, or sorry, gun for taser, we learned that she actually trains police officers, right? And give them ideas on how to get out of problems. What do you think about all this?
Maybe she should have stayed in training, man.
Yeah.
She stayed in training. Sadly enough, I'm beginning to wonder what's going on in Minnesota.
Mm.
Because just minutes away, George Floyd was killed. And here you have yet again, there is
Mhm.
an issue where this veteran, so-called veteran, is able to pull the wrong weapon. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, um, I think what we're witnessing is evidence that police need to be in the community that they serve.
Right.
That's the issue that we're seeing. Individuals would not be so terrified if they knew families of those individuals or they knew those individuals themselves. When you grow up in a community, you treat people with dignity and respect more so than when you are coming in from an outside place.
Hmm.
And not that you cannot learn and understand, the culture of that area, but especially holding a firearm. Um,
Yeah.
if the majority of police forces, police units in cities have police who are coming from outside to police the individuals in sometimes black communities, and you have a police force that's predominantly white. Like,
Yeah.
how is that going to be when they don't live in the community, they don't know anyone in the community, yet you expect for them to come in and police that community? They're going to be, more reactionary, um, retaliate. They will not know some of the individuals. Sometimes in some communities, some of the police have never had any interactions with a person of color,
Right.
and yet you're expecting for them to come into a community that's predominantly of people who are black or Hispanic, and yet what is going to be their reaction when they see or deem that is going to be force is going to be needed? They're going to be terrified, and then you're going to find that under duress they pull the wrong weapon, because a lot is happening in their mind. Their first responsibility is to protect themselves. That's what they're
Right.
thinking, and they're going to be
Hmm.
trying to shoot first and ask questions later. And in this case, she shot first and just shot with the so-called wrong weapon, even though she should have known. But in her mind, we don't know what was going on in that time. She was just scared for her life. She's used to training police officers, but now she's in a real life situation. Being in a real life situation is different, where she feels that she's being confronted and is being combative, from the person that she's about to approach. And yet, she took aggressive action and pulled the wrong weapon. That needs to be considered. But yet, it's sad, man. You've taken a life, because she really should not have been out there. She really shouldn't. But 26 years, probably she should have been in the office sitting down pushing some papers or something, not out on the
Yeah.
streets there trying to figure out how she's going to arrest somebody.
One of course she resigned, as I said, but now it's being reported that she's to be charged with second degree manslaughter in the Daunte Wright case.
Does she still get her pension?
Right. And I think, when you start hitting them in the pockets, right? Um, Shout outs to New York for getting rid of qualified immunity. Remember, you can't touch them because of that law, right? But they got rid of that in New York, and apparently New York have the largest police force, 36,000, right?
My goodness.
Right. So they got rid of that, and in Maryland they did some revisiting of the Police Bill of Rights, right? The Democratic body there with Governor Hogan, who's a Republican, right? He wasn't necessarily for it, but they are looking at how they can repeal that or do something to it, right? But yeah,
Possibly the same thing needs to happen in Minnesota, because it's happening quite frequently there in different ways, and something has to be done. It seems like there is an army and there is a war, and the community and the police are at odds right now, and it's continuing. And there's this fight, and so far, you have so much people from the community that have died from the hands of those who wear the uniform, and it should not be like that. These are individuals who serve the community, not kill people from the community. It's just a sad day, man.
I don't know. It just keeps happening over and over again. And it just seems like we keep reporting it as if we're harping on something that's not happening. But it is happening, and it's very much real, right? It's sad. I mean, another family broken, I don't know if they're gonna pay this family out as well or whatever the case is, but she gets to go home to her family, but Daunte is gone. Now, granted, he there was a little tussle, a little struggle, but let him go. Just let him go. You have the vehicle on camera. You have the license plate. Where is he gonna go? I don't know.
Man, you know, it's just how the treatment of an arrest of a young black man as compared
Mhm.
to a young white male or white man
Right.
is very different. Is very different, and we're seeing it on camera many times, but yet we don't believe it. There's obviously a different treatment. You have
Mhm.
individuals who have gunned down individuals, mass murder, and yet terrorism, and yet they're given, burgers and fries and taken care of, and hugged on the way in and protected from the community and all the different stuff. And I'm like, well, here, man, you're just making an arrest. Like, if the person is retaliating and they're aggressive and they're belligerent and they're
Right.
using their words or whatever, then let them know that you are the officer and that have your taser out. But to pull a gun and shoot the person, I don't think that's not justified in this case. And I really do hope that that justice will be served. We're not wishing bad on any police officer, because we understand it's a very huge job, a difficult job that every police officer has got to carry out. And you're leaving your families and going out on the streets to serve and protect, and that is dangerous at times. But then we expect for you to do what is right. Like, if you stop someone, treat everybody the same. Don't because he's a black man, I've got to pin him down and taser him and shoot him. But if it's someone else, then I've got to give them hot dogs and hamburger and make sure they're taken care of and treat them right and call them sir, to make sure that respect is there so that I can take them in quietly and peacefully. If you do the same to everyone, then most likely you'll have the similar result. There's no reason to disrespect individuals, no matter what you think of them, or no matter how they look like. And I think once that is carried out, you will have the best career, rather than to end your career after 26 years without an honorable discharge per se. So I
Right.
think things could have definitely been different. Things could have been different and handled much differently if there was a level of respect given.
We continue to watch the development, but what we're used to is these police officers, they act bad, and they get a little slap on the wrist and they go about their lives, right? Still getting that money, Last topic here. A lady named she's a former police officer. Her name is Carol Horn.
Hmm.
She's this is a story coming out of Buffalo. So basically, she was a former police officer, stopped her partner from choking somebody. Right? It was a young man named Neil Mack. She ended up getting fired. Right? And I think she had an altercation with that police officer. I think she did that. Her partner ended up punching her in the mouth or something like that. Right?
Mm.
She lost her pension, but the reports coming out now is that a judge ruled in her favor. It's a 14-year fight, Garth. Former police officer. She's black, of course, black, and her partner is white, right?
Mm.
Um, so the judge ruled in her favor that she should get her pension. What, what do you think?
14 years. 14 years, man. Hey,
Justice
uh,
delayed, but not justice denied.
that's it, man. At least now she can receive the pension and carry on with her life. Hopefully, a lot of it would not be eaten up by lawyer fees,
Yeah.
but that she will actually get something in return and be able to live comfortably. Hopefully, she would move to Florida and continue to stimulate this economy here in this state of Florida. It would be
Yeah.
nice. It would be nice to have her down here in the Sunshine State. So
Mhm.
move from Buffalo, and come on down to the Sunshine State. Take the funds that they give you up there and spend it wisely in the sun and the beach, and you'll be all right. So hopefully she'll get a hold of that and think about her future and her family's future, and get out of places, man, where they're just treating you badly. You don't need to stay there. There are many other places that you can live and be at peace with your mind and with God, and that's the most important thing.
Yes, sir. Nice way to end, man. Nice way to end. Just wanted to us to we're living a real world, right? Sometimes we're in our Adventist bubble and these things are happening around us and we don't think it will ever come to our doorsteps, right? But
Oh, it's at our doorstep. Now, mind you, talking about the Adventist bubble,
mhm,
and I know we probably didn't have that down as part of the topic, but here's this. We as a church need to really think about our future and the way that we're going. Right
right.
now, it's probably one of the largest retirement in the church's history in terms of the leadership of the
Hmm.
church and what we're witnessing here, even at the GC, this article this week that just mentioned that the secretary and the treasurer of the
Hmm.
General Conference will be retiring in the next few months. And you have Pastor Wilson, Ted Wilson, who was the GC president, who just mentioned that he feels alone. He feels alone because now all of those who are serving with him are retiring. So those listening online, hopefully you can weigh in on that. Go and check it out. But definitely, we're going to be seeing some major changes in our church's history because a lot of the leaders are getting older and they're
Okay,
going
I
to be
was going
coming.
to ask you changes in terms of people, younger ones coming in or the way we do things. Like, what do you think?
Possibly both, because when you look at the younger ones, the schools are not putting out. That could be a whole other topic all to itself. But a lot
Yeah.
of the younger generation, Generation Alpha, Generation Z, they're not going into pastoral ministry, which
Mhm.
is very sad. Not that God is not making the call to people on people's lives anymore, but it's just that they're choosing to go in other professions. So that could be a whole topic all to itself. Even older, more seasoned veterans in pastoral ministry are choosing to go in other professions. And that's because there has to be a wake-up call on the church that something has got to be restructured. There has to be a restructuring. There has to be some conversations to some degree, in that regard, regarding how we approach the future and what needs to happen, so that we can have more stronger leadership towards the future. So I hope that will be a discussion that the church would have very soon, because it is coming and it is
Well,
here.
we're always having a discussion like that in some way, shape, or form, especially when it comes to the generational gap and whether or not we're reaching the younger generation who's really in leadership. Like you said, it's a whole heap of topics that we can get into, or a whole heap of conversations that we can get into when it comes to the state of our church. We're overwhelmed right now with vaccines, and we're overwhelmed right now with the pandemic and all that. But the real situation is there's still a problem. The generational gap. We're in communities. We're not engaged in our communities. And like I said, we'll pick up on this again, and we'll start there. And I'll share some information that I've come across from my own church and how we need to do a better job of reaching people. And we think that we're reaching certain people, but we're not. We're not.
That's so true.
All right, Garth. Thanks for being on again, man.
Hey, definitely, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, boss. I know you're busy, but we're both gonna be running to go do whatever we have to do for our churches.
That's it.
You're getting settled. I'm getting settled. It's tax time, right?
A lot of things are happening all at once, but you know what? We got renovation, we got all this stuff going on, but man, we're here in the right time, man. God has a purpose, and God has definitely called us to be used in this time and in this era and in this place. So
yes,
without
sir.
a shadow of a doubt.
All right. Okay, everyone. Thanks for watching, whether you're watching now or later on. All right. Take care of yourself. Remember, only what you do for Christ will last.
Indeed. Take care, folks.